he was supposed to be in Berlin and in Brussels dealing with the economic crisis over in Europe. Instead, he has created a crisis of his own right here in New York City.
This morning, there is a manhunt underway in one of the city's wealthiest neighborhoods.
She attributes the rat problem at Hayden Hall to construction here at Washington Square Park.
Hispanic girls in Brooklyn face the toughest battle.
And they didn't come up with anything. They said that they did not suspect any foul play.
Is this, in fact, a case of guilt by association, or is it something else? These alerts would be able to be targeted directly to a specific geographic location like Times Square, and you would get them on your cell phone.
Some people, they'll drop everything to catch a foul ball at a baseball game. Maybe a hot dog, a beer, some peanuts, something like that.
The president is also going to head over to NYPD's first precinct later on today as well. Sometimes, despite their best efforts, their own relatives don't get autism.
Well, this morning there is a manhunt underway in one of the city's wealthiest neighborhoods after a man attacked an elderly woman on the street and raped and robbed her. Surveillance video actually captured what happened. James Ford is live on the Upper East Side with how cops are trying to track down the man who did it. James? Well, Dominique Strauss-Kahn did not let house arrest get in the way of any holiday festivities. Over the weekend, he set up patio furniture in his $50,000 a month apartment. His younger brother also visited him. Even as DSK enjoyed the weather, his defense team is still trying to discredit the alleged victim. He's hired a private investigator to cross-check his accuser's accusations and immigration status. Well, it wasn't all fun and festivities yesterday. Hundreds of people were involved in a massive fight on Long Beach. 3 police departments were needed to break up that melee. The fight started on the beach before it closed at 6 p.m. It continued for a few hours and it spilled right on into the streets. No word yet on whether anybody was arrested. 2 Queens lawmakers are pushing a bill that would force store owners to include English translations on store signs. The measure would require shopkeepers to change their signs or awnings if at least 60% of the writing is not in English. The lawmakers say the bill would help police and firefighters in finding crime scenes, fires, and other emergencies. Well, as the Space Shuttle Endeavor makes its way back to Earth, its commander says he does not regret going on this mission. Mark Kelly's wife, Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords, has been recovering from being shot in the head during a political event in January. Now, Kelly says he made the right decision to fly on the shuttle's last mission.
When January 8th happened.
The Space Shuttle Endeavor is set to land in Florida tomorrow morning. Well, talking and texting are not the only things making our highways dangerous. GMAC Insurance says 1 in 5 drivers would not pass a written driving exam if they took that test today. The numbers are even worse in New York. 1 out of 3 drivers failed GMAC's online exam, making the Empire State 45th. New Jersey ranks 48th, Connecticut 35th. The District of Columbia was dead last at 51. Now, Kansas, Iowa, and Colorado are the states with the safest drivers. AC says all drivers do need a refresher course.
Let me just say that I think in Kansas, Iowa, and Colorado, there are fewer things to hit with your car.
I think that's very accurate, and also including the moving ones, like the pedestrians.
Yeah, exactly. And no traffic jams.
Bicyclers, and you have to use your car to get around over there a little bit more.
No traffic jams in those states at all.
All right, well, at least 14 people are dead. Get this, because of contaminated cucumbers, and it's only expected to get worse.
That story plus Linda's got.
Good morning. He is here at 71 Broadway behind me. There are armed guards outside that he has to pay for the tune of $200,000 a month. This after he posted bail on Friday to the tune of $6 million. But that DNA evidence that you're talking about, that was actually semen that was found on the shirt of the maid that says that he raped her on May 14th at the Hotel Sofitel, where she was working, trying to clean this $3,000 a night suite that he was staying at that time. Let's take it back a little bit and go over this case. Dominique Strauss-Kahn was the former head of the International Monetary Fund. He resigned Wednesday and in a letter professed his innocence against these rape and sexual assault charges, where the maid alleges that he forced her to have her perform oral sex on him. She has also said that she had spat out semen that he had onto the carpet. They collected evidence of that from the carpet. Investigators are going over that as well. But this is all because of a DNA match that investigators have found, because Strauss-Kahn voluntarily gave his DNA to investigators. And so all of this is now coming forward. Of course, in Strauss-Kahn's defense, his attorneys say that if there was any kind of a sexual encounter, it was consensual. We have yet to see what happens there. All we know is right now this is a temporary hold for him because he has to find new digs and try to find a new place to stay because this is just temporary until he's able to find a new apartment to stay in while he awaits whatever is going to come out of this court case. For now, we're live in Lower Manhattan. Francesca Maxime, Pix 11 News.
Yeah, I had a chance to actually ride around with Angel Ruiz this morning, and he's definitely a good dude. Angel Ruiz is a Brooklyn-bred Bronx resident and cab driver who once did dream of being a cop, but instead of driving a black and blue, he ended up driving a yellow cab, and now he drives a livery cab, but still fights crime his own way. Bronx livery cab driver Angel Ruiz was on his way to Manhattan at 1:30 a.m. Saturday to pick up one of his regular customers when he saw something he'd seen during his 20 years on the job before. Someone getting badly beaten up on the street. And so he did something he'd done before. He stopped to help.
Whatever I see on the street, if it's help, I'm sorry, my regulars will understand. Listen, you know what? The person needing help comes first before fare. That's what I said earlier. It's not all about the money.
Unlike many other cabbies that may drive by, Angel did something else.
I just started calling 911, you know, and as I was telling the operator, they continued beating up on the man. And operator was telling me just to stand by, don't try to do anything because you don't know if there's any weapons involved.
But Angel didn't waver. He still swung his car around to the other side of the street, parking right next to the melee, causing one of the bad guys to take off running. Police arrived minutes later.
I left my car unattended. It was still running, and we took off after them. And a few minutes of circling the area, we, ended up finding them. Yeah.
Asked if he sees himself as an unofficial neighborhood patrolman, Angel's pretty humble.
Honestly, no. My thing is I just love helping people.
Well, he sure does. Now, the victim in that attack, he unfortunately died from his injuries. But on Sunday, Angel was awarded a bulletproof vest and a $500 check for his efforts. He kept the vest, but he gave the money to the victim's family. Well, good morning. Definitely a heartbreaking story. Tim Hetherington was perhaps most famous for his documentary about Afghanistan called Restrepo, which won last year's Grand Jury Prize at the Sundance Film Festival. He and his colleague, Chris Hondros, were on the front lines documenting humanitarian efforts surrounding the revolution in Libya when they were hit by a rocket-propelled bomb.
Tim was someone who was dedicated in a very rare way.
He traveled the country, putting himself on the front lines of disaster and revolution. But while not out on assignment, filmmaker Tim Hetherington called Williamsburg home. Friends who worked with him in a Brooklyn Navy Yard studio are stunned by his loss.
Terrible loss, both to the community of photographers and journalists and filmmakers, but also to his friends.
They talked before his 10-day Vanity Fair assignment to rebel-held Misrata, Libya. Just yesterday, he tweeted, Gaddafi's forces were unrelenting in their attacks with NATO nowhere in sight. Hetherington was born in Liverpool and spent 8 years in West Africa, where his images of civil war in Liberia brought the world the reality of a conflict that had until then gone unnoticed. He then turned his attention to Afghanistan, where he spent 5 years creating the film Restrepo, garnering an Academy Award nomination in the process.
Often when I'm working in a very pressured situation, I can almost flick the off switch and go into a default of filming. And later on I come to, and it shocks me what I've done.
New York-based photographer Chris Hondros was also killed in the attack. Working for Getty Images and other agencies, he'd previously traveled to war-torn regions including Iraq, Liberia, and Afghanistan, documenting images published in newspapers, magazines, and the Internet worldwide. Hondros had been in Libya since early April. Well, 2 other journalists were also injured in yesterday's attack. Tim Hetherington and Chris Hondros, they were each just 41 years old. He talked to you, he talked to me. Basically, what I think he's trying to say is that $100 million and that extra $60 million he has to raise to match that $100 million that was given by Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, that he's going to basically pour all of those resources into creating some new schools, but he wants to do it in the right way, so he's going to plan it out. Also today here in Newark, Arne Duncan, the U.S. Secretary of Education, he's actually coming here later today for a town hall meeting to talk about trying to recruit more teachers here into urban areas and teaching in urban schools. Let's hear a little clip from my interview with Newark Mayor Cory Booker earlier today on the state of education here in the city. You've drawn a lot of attention because of statements like that there's genius inside each child. And do you think that that's one of the ways that you're going to be able to really tap into getting these teachers and getting these parents more involved by just continuing to praise and make those kind of investments?
Well, look, we want to create the most exciting, dynamic city in America for school reform, and that's why Arne Duncan, to expand our school and raise the bar, higher expectations for everybody.
All right, well, we do know that Mr. Brooker certainly has some high standards here, and he really says that although it may take 5 years or so, I think he was talking to you actually, Sukanya, at that point, to actually implement all these changes, that he really wants to get stuff done within the next year, to actually look for changes sooner rather than later. If you have kids in the Newark City school system and you want to see those graduation rates go up from what they are now to about 50% to greater than that.
Because as a parent, you don't want to lose generations of children. You know, you want to start implementing it right now, so in the next school year you can start building upon that and hopefully inspire, like you said, other kids to kind of take responsibility and their parents to get those graduation rates up, right, Francesca?
Yeah, I think so, and I think that his whole message is basically that success breeds success, and if you can get the teachers more motivated, if you can bring them in here for the right reasons, and you can have other kids do well, that other kids, like you just said, are going to see that, and that they're going to want to sort of play off one another and keep doing well. So hopefully they're on the right track here. They're going to turn the corner, and this money will be put to good use. Success
breeds success, but accountability starts with the parents and the administrators, the teachers. We know how that goes. Francesca Maxime, an exclusive interview.
FEMA officials started touring northern New Jersey to assess flood damage earlier this week, and at least one northern New Jersey homeowner that we spoke with today says she wants to give them a piece of her mind.
I am tired of this. I want people to hear me, and if you think my house is, appraising in this economy, please buy us out. We cannot have anybody come and live here anymore because nobody wants to pay a rent in a flood zone year after year after year.
Homeowner Raji Mystery has had it. The West Patterson home she rents out flooding again earlier this month.
This is how much the basement was full.
During last year's floods, Raji got $8,000 in insurance money, even though it cost over 5 times that much to repair the home.
Last time's flood was the most that it flooded in this house, and what the insurance company paid we couldn't even afford to put the hot water and the boiler back into the house.
Raji says she spent $220,000 on this home when she bought it 20 years ago, and she's put in $250,000 since then, mainly due to flood damage. She says that's money FEMA should be coming up with. FEMA just started touring the area last week, and some people say that that was too late to be able to get you money in time, and there's really no guarantee that they're going to give any money at all. So
that's damn right. That there is no guarantee.
FEMA says there will have to be at least $11 million in damages if FEMA is going to give New Jersey any money for this flooding. In West Patterson, Francesca Maxime, Pix 11 News.
Yeah, it's all about the barrio, baby. You gotta love it. Everybody knows your name, but it's Miguel and Jesus and
La Bruja.
And La Bruja as well, absolutely. Well, with the new web series, East Willy B, a group of 20-something filmmakers and actors is poking a little fun at the gentrification of what is now called East Williamsburg and making quite a name for themselves in the process.
The show's premise is simple. Puerto Rican bar owner Willie Jr. is trying, with the help of his amigos, to keep his Puerto Rican sports bar from being taken over by his ex.
Slightly depressive dive. We can have some 80s video games, some Confederate flags. You also need to start selling $6 malt liquors. Those rich white hipsters love that.
This is still a Latin bar, all right?
In its premiere season, each 3-minute webisode of East Willy B uses humor to poke fun at Bushwick's transformation into what's now called East Williamsburg. Bronx-born actor Flaco Navaja plays Willie Jr.
You know, gentrification and the issues that these people in this community are dealing with are serious issues. However, I think our goal here is not only to inform the audience, but to entertain them more.
That's why the jokes keep coming.
The average cop response time in this hood is like next Monday.
Shouldn't you be out chasing dudes with tattoos and bulldogs?
Julia Grobe, who plays bartender Ceci Rivera, created the series with director Yamin Segal.
Latinos, we're educated. We know what's going on. We don't have to just watch the same stories, but we can poke fun at politics. We can poke fun at intergenerational relationships, and it can be profitable and entertaining and something that people want to watch. There's a need.
The characters come from people that we see on the streets. I mean, they're obviously exaggerated for comedic effect, but I think that every character that you see in our stories you'll find in your life in some way or another.
Nobody in this neighborhood plays golf except you and white people.
How is it that you have learned to develop that voice for the characters that you think is really sort of more dead on? Is it really just by listening to your friends and people that you hang out with and you say, OMG, he just totally made me laugh, or what?
You know, a lot of it also has to do with experimenting with the actors once you're on set, you know, so when we're there with Flockley, you know, shooting with Flockley, he's a great improvisational actor, and so once we're on set, you know, we have the basic character where he needs to go and get to, and then he just brings his own little New York zing to it.
Listen, Pancho Villa. Hey, I'm Salvadorian, I'm Mexican. Tomato, all right?
Generation that we're seeing now is this new age kind of Latino guy who grew up in the South Bronx, may have parents that are Jewish and whatever, you know, are educated.
This is Bushwick!
Bridging the old Latino Bushwick with the new East Willy B hipster vibe isn't hard for these progressive creatives. They say they'll keep coming up with new material inspired by what they see every day on Brooklyn streets and in their own backyards. How do you decide when not to push the envelope anymore, when you've done enough?
I don't know. Maybe get shut down by the cops.
Not there yet. Not there yet. You're going to keep on pushing. Yeah.
We have so many stories we are just waiting to write, and we just think.
And we will look forward to those stories that they will be writing. Now, you can watch episode 6 of East Willy B starting today on EastWillyB.com. It's the last episode of this pilot season. And if they keep getting the props that they have been getting, they just might get their wish of landing a full-fledged series or on the likes of a major cable channel like Showtime or HBO. That's really their dream. That's what they're hoping for. So you can learn more about East Willy B on our website, Pix11.com, and even find out where you can meet the cast members this weekend, because they're going to be out in Brooklyn and they're going to be having a good time doing a little bit of salsa dancing. Yeah, you think you got it?
I know I don't got it. All right. Muy bueno. Gracias.